are now locked in and listening to The Issue.
This guy is a franchise quarterback, and no, I don't want to hear any pushback on that.
It feels like a top 10 roster to me. It feels like it can win a championship.
This is The Issue.
Yo, what's up? We are back. It is The Issue. It is Friday, June 17th, and we have another great episode here for you today. Absolutely loaded. In the first segment, we're going to have hits and misses and a rant from Tim like normal on safeties. Minkah Fitzpatrick just got paid by the Steelers. We're going to give you our thoughts on that in the first segment. Coming out of the first, going into the second, it's going to be all Jake Cuffman. He stopped by the show. We have a fantastic interview lined up in the second segment. Don't go anywhere. You're going to love that. And then in the third, we're going to wrap it up with the top 5 winners and the top 5 losers.
I think top 3 now.
Top 3. That's my bad. Top 3 winners, top 3 losers of the NFL offseason. Who won, who lost, and a little bit of why.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. It's just so much better on Zoom, you know, being able to have guests on Zoom.
Absolutely.
Just the conversation is just way better than a phone. A phone call feels too. Every now and then a phone call is cool. You know what I mean? But overall, I think it feels more question answer than it is like just flowing discussion, hanging out. You know what I mean? It just flows a little bit better on Zoom.
I know what you mean. I feel like when you talk on the phone, it's a little bit more robotic, if you will. Like
it's more
kind of
structured. You know what I mean? Because there's no visual cues. There's no.
Right.
I don't know, you're just more comfortable.
I don't know.
When you're looking at somebody.
The visual cues from like a Zoom and an in-person interview, even both, it gives you more depth to it. I feel like a little more personality, which is always good to have.
I agree.
But without further ado, let's get right into it to start the day with our usual hits and misses.
So I had to fix the hat there.
Understood.
I just hate when the hair pops out of the little thing.
Can't have that.
My hair's not super long right now, so it's not slicking back quite as well. Anyway, back to what you came here for, not fashion advice. So hit number 1. I said from the very beginning, I do think that I don't know if Kenny Pickett's going to be the best quarterback from this class. I don't know if any of them are going to work out. I don't know if he'll be successful, etc. But I did say that he's not going to have to win shootouts. This defense is fantastic. What do you know? They go out and sign another key piece, Minkah Fitzpatrick. And here's one thing. We'll get into how I feel about the deal later, but at the end of the day, whatever they're paying him per year, are you going to find another guy or even 2 guys that is going to be that big of a factor?
And it's going to replace? No.
But at the end of the day, you need safety, or you need just secondary in general.
Yeah. So you need a plethora of talent there.
What guy or 2 guys are you going to get to be able to replace the value of Minkah? Exactly.
Not anybody realistic.
Right, and so I said Kenny's not going to have to win shootouts. That's for sure now that they have extended Minkah, so he'll be there, I think, the next, 6 years now? Because this 5-year extension, I think he had 1 more year left, so I think it's 6 or 7 years, whatever. All right, miss number 1 here. I did not expect Baker to go to Carolina, and he hasn't gone there yet, but swirling rumors that trade discussions, they're heating up. Like, they're heating up big time. Carolina's looking to get Baker. I didn't think it'd be a great fit because I think Carolina's not rebuilding, but I think Baker's more of a bridge guy. And I think Carolina should be in a position to not try to lose a lot of games, but Baker's too good for you to go in. I don't even like Baker, but I think Baker's too good for you to go in there and win 5 games and get a good pick for next year. I think he's too good for that. I think he'll go in and win 7 or 8, and they'll be drafting somewhere around 14 or 15.
Yeah.
Maybe
12.
About 12. Which is fine. You can still trade up and get one of the better quarterbacks.
I understand them wanting him there.
I think for them it would be better to see what Darnold can do again, see what Matt Corral can do maybe, let P.J. Walker take a game, whatever it may be, win 5 games, have the 6th pick next year, and go from there.
I agree.
Or you put Corral in, he pops, and we go with it. You know what I mean? I thought those were the 2 options. But, rumor has it, story out today that Baker, that discussion of trade is heating up. Hit number 2, I think I said this, 3 months ago, that the Avalanche are far and away the best team in hockey.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're in the Cup again. Well, no, against the Lightning, who are again in the Cup. There it is. Yeah, the Lightning are looking for, a 3-peat?
A 3-peat in Tampa.
That'd be pretty impressive. The Avalanche are just so good, though.
Well, it would be really cool to see I'm pulling for the Avalanche. I've liked them for, like 4 years. I've been telling people, like,
because they've been building this core.
The Avalanche are building. Just watch. And this is finally the year that they pop. So to see them here, I mean, feels about right. I expected as much coming about 4 years down the line, right?
Right.
So it's here. I think they got Tampa here.
I don't know. I mean, I agree. I think the Avs are my pick to win it. Here's something I will say, though. I think either way I'll be happy. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm going to get stale," or I'm going to get tired of Tampa winning. Here's my thing. No matter what we do, we're going to see history, right? I don't even know if the Avs have ever won a cup. Off the top of my head, I don't think they have. Maybe they have, but it's been a long time if they have. So you're going to see some sort of history. Either the Avs break a drought, or they win the first one, or Tampa goes on a three-peat. Like, I think either way, it's not that bad of a scenario, right? I think it's interesting. It's a good story either way.
Either way,
I want to talk about it, right? As a fan, as long as it's a good series, because I'm going to watch it. And I went through a little period where I wasn't even feeling like watching hockey after the Pens lost. I think I'm kind of out of that now. I'm going to watch some playoff hockey, right? I've been watching even playoff basketball. Just anything playoffs, the urgency, the intensity, I love it.
There is a period of mourning after your team loses in the city of Pittsburgh, so had to take a brief month off. We're back now, though. We got the NHL.
Especially if you're a 3-1 lead.
I don't
even want to talk about it.
That makes us sound too much like Atlanta.
I don't even want to talk about it. Okay, so miss number 2. I didn't love the Watson move for to Cleveland to begin with, but I at least thought it was an upgrade. But at the end of the day, I was like, like civil suits, they should be okay. And that was when it was like 8 of them, and then it was like more,
like 16 of them.
Well, I said that, but before he even got signed to the Browns, I was like, yeah, it's not that many. He should be okay. And then they kept adding and adding. By the time he gets to the Browns, it's like 22. And I was like, not a huge fan, but at the end of the day, he's better than Baker. He'll be suspended for a little bit. He'll come back. Will he have to sacrifice 10 games? Sure. In the long run, is he going to be a good quarterback that I'm going to have to worry about as a Steeler fan for a while? Yes. Now it's looking like he
might never play football again.
And now partial little hit here. I did say I don't think Deshaun will ever play football again. I did say that.
It's on our TikTok.
As soon as the allegations grew to whenever they came out, whenever like all of them came out or whatever, I said, I don't think he'll play football again. I don't.
Well, when 23 and 24 came out, I almost knew for certain you can roll them out for this year.
Yeah, I don't know what the NFL's delaying on. Suspend him for the year. What are we doing? This is just bad optics for the league.
Yeah, why are you letting this hang around?
This should be a no-brainer. This should be a no-brainer.
This should have been wrapped up, week and a half, done. But no, you've let it stew for a month.
The only investigation there should be is into what the Texans' role was with it.
Right, because then you look into them paying for the 66 private massages, and it starts to raise some eyebrows.
Getting him rooms, hotel rooms, getting him NDA, non-disclosure agreements, like printed out forms that these therapists have to sign saying nothing that happens in this room leaves this room, basically. Binding, like a contract saying that which is ridiculous.
Extremely shady from the Texans.
Extremely shady. First of all.
Extremely.
Not to, make fun of victims or anything, but if I walked into a room and someone asked me to sign something, I'm leaving. I'm walking out.
Yeah.
But anyway, not the point. I think the only investigation that should be happening is the Texans' involvement. We know what Deshaun did. We don't need to investigate that.
No, we don't need to keep looking into that. Let's go into the deeper, more
maybe partially parts. More disturbing even. I don't know. Hit number 3. I've always said Washington is a dysfunctional mess, as in the Commanders. The whole name change thing was baffling to me. I mean, who cares really? Like, can we move on from that? Like, they donated a lot of money to Native American tribes, foundations, etc. They got permission from somebody. Whenever they first changed the name, they got permission from a chief or somebody within the community, right?
Yes.
Move on. Anyway, they changed the name, but anyway. And then their defensive coordinator goes out and voices an opinion, whether you agree with it or not, and they go turn around and fine him for $100,000. What a joke of an organization.
Yeah.
It's an absolute joke. I don't care what you think about anything, but to get fined 100 G's for making a statement is just ridiculous.
They create
That's
drama
ridiculous.
There. They create
They love
drama.
it. They love it. They love it.
You know why? Because the drama sells, and it's Washington, so.
It's ridiculous, and I think Ron Rivera might be the most overrated coach in football. I really do. If Cam Newton didn't have one of the best single seasons for a dual-threat quarterback in NFL history, he doesn't even sniff a Super Bowl appearance. Not one. So I think he's overrated. Number 3, missed number 3 here. Tennessee was my pick for the college baseball, World Series, right? Yep. Number 1 overall seed, number 1 in the nation. I mean, just kind of steamrolling through everybody. Well, Notre Dame is a really, really sound baseball team. They're just really gritty. They outwork you, they out-hustle you, they outsmart you. You might be more talented, but you'll find a way to lose the game against Notre Dame, or I guess Notre Dame will find a way to win. Really, really impressive.
Love teams like that,
for Notre Dame, but UT was my pick. Didn't end up working out. Whatever. I'm excited to go watch a game or two in Omaha.
That'll be good. You better throw something up there. I want to see.
I'm excited.
What's going on?
I'm very excited. I think I might run on the field. Why not?
Can we start putting money on and bets on stuff that you're gonna do?
If it rains, I'm running on the field during the rain delay.
Are you gonna? No, you won't. You won't have turned by then. So
I will have.
You will have.
I will have.
Oh well, then that's perfect because then you can throw some scratch on those games.
I'm excited. Are you allowed to bet on college though?
Oh wait, no, never mind. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's illegal.
Never mind.
Whatever.
Wipe that.
Anyway, so I guess I won't bet on that, but I'll bet on the Steelers' defense being pretty good. So let's move into that. So let's switch to some more local news, right? The Steelers. Pretty big news today. Was that? Yeah, it was earlier today. I don't know. Depending on when you guys are listening to this, it is Wednesday, so early Wednesday, right? Minkah Fitzpatrick of the Steelers gets signed. I think it was 4 years, $73.5 million or something like that.
I absolutely love it. So important.
I love the player. I love Minkah. I'm not sure how to feel about the deal, right? So, I generally speaking, I'm like, do we pay safety a lot? Like for example, Chicago is an organization that I would never want to be. I mean, when's the last time they had a franchise quarterback? I'd argue maybe never, right? I mean, some people say like Sid Luckman. I don't even know who that. I think he was wearing a leather helmet, right? You know what I mean? So they haven't had a franchise guy in so long, right? And they pay a lot of money to safety and linebacker, right? And we're seeing how that goes. But then again, you turn around and so like the Broncos with Justin Simmons, one of their franchise safeties, really solid player. I don't think they regret the deal at all. A really, really solid player. Kind of the anchor of the defense back there. Like without him, there's young corners like Surtain and company, right? So he's kind of the anchor, the veteran, right? Good move for them. I think he's worth the money. I go back and forth, right? So I'm like, so who are the top 10 paid safeties, right? It's like Simmons from the Broncos, Eddie Jackson of Chicago, like I mentioned, Budda Baker, Jimmy Ward, Jesse Bates, Jordan Poyer, Rayshawn Jenkins, I think his name is. He's from the Jaguars. I have a feeling they're not loving that deal, considering I've never heard of him. Jamal Adams and Derwin James. Like I said, I'm not sure how to feel about that because I think about 4 or 5. I go with half of them. I think are pretty happy with the deal, right? Like I think Denver is pretty happy today. I think Arizona with Budda Baker is pretty happy. He's more of a stronger safety, right? A lot of tackles for loss, etc. I would argue that I don't think San Francisco hates it, but I don't think they love it either with Jimmy Ward. I think they might be stuck here in about a year or so. So we'll wait and see. I think the Bengals are happy with Bates. I think the Bills are happy with Poyer. And I think the Chargers are about half happy with Derwin James. Right? When he's on the field, he's terrific. Just only on the field for like 9 games a year, right, on average. Something like that, 9 or 10 games a year. When he's there, fantastic. And then you look at the other ones. Eddie Jackson with Chicago. I mean, they're not paying their quarterback anything, and they couldn't keep their other best corner, I guess their best corner, last year. This year they couldn't keep Khalil Mack or Allen Robinson. You're not paying your quarterback anything.
Yeah.
Nothing. You're paying it to Eddie Jackson in the secondary. He's a fine player, but are we serious? Like I said, I think San Francisco, in about a year, they're not going to be very happy with it. Like I said, I don't think the Jags are happy with, I think his name's Rayshawn. I could be totally wrong. Jenkins. Don't think they're happy with him. And I don't think Seattle's happy with Jamal Adams. Right? They were on a very upward trajectory. And then about 2.5 years ago now, they go out and get Jamal Adams. And, I mean, does that look like the same team to you? They just lost your franchise quarterback because you couldn't pay for a left tackle because you know where your money was? Safety. One of the other top 15 paid safeties is Quandre Diggs, who's right in the same defensive backfield as Jamal Adams. Why would you pay 2 safeties top 15? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. None at all. So back to Minkah. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly how to feel. Let's compare some stats. So I picked who I think are the other two best safeties in football right now. Now I'm not talking DBs in general, right? This is excluding cornerbacks and so just safeties, right? Doesn't matter strong or free, same thing, right? I mean, well, not same thing, but so Minkah gets about 0.27 picks a game. We'll go all per game because they all played different total games, right? Minkah about 0.7 picks a game, 5.5 tackles per game, 5 fumble recoveries in his career. Justin Simmons is 0.23 picks per game, about 5 tackles a game, and only 1 recovery for his career. Budda Baker, on the other hand, he has like no picks. He's like 0.064 picks per game, 7 tackles a game though, 5 fumble recoveries as well. So I said, does it stack up? So if you made me choose right now, I'd probably say, yeah, I'm happy with it. I mean, I mentioned earlier, Kenny Pickett doesn't have to win shootouts anymore. Not anymore, but we expected him to have to come in and not win shootouts. Fantastic defense. T.J. Watt. I think the addition of Miles Jack and Brian Flores in the coaching staff, along with Devin Bush with another year under his belt, especially adding Flores to being able to coach him up, right? I think that the linebacking core is going to be much improved. You lose to it, but he was only playing like 5 games a year anyway. You still have Hayward. I mean, I think Highsmith's a good edge rusher opposite T.J. Watt. Secondary, DB-wise, right, like corner-wise, is a little shaky. So I think you have to lock up Minkah. Who else is in your secondary if not? So I've gone back and forth. I said that's a lot of money to pay safety. It's a lot of money to pay safety, and you keep seeing it backfire, like a lot. Right? Yeah. You see it backfire a lot. And I don't want that to be the Steelers. But like I said, who else are you going to pay in the defensive backfield?
I mean, on the Steelers, I can't think of anybody that I would immediately go out and want to spend money on today in that set of DBs other than Minkah. He's the most productive. We've seen him change games. We've seen him with those timely interceptions. Did he have a lot of them this past year? No.
It was a down year, and he still had top 10 stats.
Right. And he's so important to the back end of that defense, almost as important, I would say maybe even equally as a T.J. Watt to the front of that defense and the pass
like the front
rush.
7, right.
So I do like the signing. I am worried and kind of treading with caution because of, the stats that we have in front of us, the visual proof that we've seen in the NFL for the last, how many years?
5 to 6. You could probably argue longer, but since we've been actually paying attention, probably like 5 or 6.
Yeah. So, it's not a great trend for...
it's not great, right? Look at all the big contracts. Like, they gave Adams that massive extension.
And it makes sense.
Ask Seattle how they're feeling right now.
Yeah.
Like, he's a chandelier in a warehouse. Like, there's nobody,
at some point it comes time to re-sign people, and when you have the money tied up in the wrong places, you're going to have to kind of budget in other things.
Right.
But we're going to get into the second segment here with our Cuffman interview. Jake Cuffman, you guys are going to love it. Here he is.
All right, we're sitting down with Jake Cuffman. Lucky enough for him to take some time out of his day to come talk to me here. So, drafted 2003, 14th round of the Buccos. I think you did mention you roomed with Neil Walker for a time period. We'll get to that. Played for 5-6 years, had some nasty stuff. Currently in the Pine Richland organization, kind of giving back, coaching. He's a Butler graduate for those local people. Jake, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We appreciate you, especially on Zoom. It's just so much better, so much easier, more realistic conversation.
Right.
So
right.
We'll start with some of the more, quote unquote serious questions, and then we'll move into, rooming with Neil and some other fun things, right?
Right,
so
sure.
I think baseball right now, especially in the MLB, it's too boom or bust to me at the dish. I know you were a pitcher, and you played for so long, right? Maybe not in the minors, but from start to finish, right? Travel ball, high school, minors, right? I think baseball is so much more fun with base runners, more cat and mouse as opposed to the strikeout or home run. What are your thoughts on that and the direction of baseball in general?
Personally, we just talked about this the other day. I just talked to somebody about this. I honestly, I hate it. I think the guys that for me, I'm more pitching focused. But I think for me, like the guys that throw 88 with a sinker, those guys are disappearing. I always think about like Kevin Brown. I mean, Kevin Brown threw a little bit harder, but Derek Lowe and those type of arms, those kind of players are disappearing from the game just because, like you said, it's boom or bust. You flip the TV on at night and you have guys, everybody, it seems like everyone throws 100 now.
Yep.
You know, I don't know if that's the radar guns or these guys are actually throwing 100, but I mean, I could count on, you know, one hand how many guys that I played with that actually threw 100. And now it's like the run of the mill guy throws 101 with a 90-mile-an-hour slider. I mean, it's just unheard of. And maybe it's because I'm getting old, but 20 years ago, I can assure you that guys were not throwing that hard. And the game has changed. I mean, just for me, you know, I was a sinker ball pitcher.
Right.
And now, I mean, it's kind of almost seems like it's frowned upon for guys to throw sinkers.
Yeah.
You know, that was bread and butter for me. You know, four seams were like, they didn't even want you throwing them in the bullpen. It was like, how can you get a ground ball? How can you get this guy out in 2 or 3 pitches? Because we don't want you throwing, you know, 2-2-3-2 counts. But
right, that's what it used to be. I don't know if you're familiar with the W&J head coach. I'm blanking on his name off the top of my head, but they always preach get a result no matter what it is, and I think it's 3 pitches or less, right? So it was less about getting the strikeout and more about just getting an out or getting a result and letting your guys do the work. And I think it kind of stems from the fact that they're paying for strikeouts now, point blank. Right. And so people are, from a very young age, even middle school, that's what they're being taught to do is strikeout, because that's what's being rewarded at the upper levels. Maybe that's just my take.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a strikeout or a home run, man. I mean, that's what people want to see. So I think from the hitting side of it, you know, I think as a hitter, I mean, there's got to be a lot more pressure, right?
There's got to be.
If you're not hitting bombs, you're not part of the mix going forward. So
right.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't love where the game's going. I think they need to make it. It's not as fun as it used to be.
Yeah.
It needs to be more of a sandlot game. It doesn't feel like that right now. But you know, we'll see what happens with Major League Baseball over the next couple of years.
I agree, and you know, kind of what will happen with it. I have my ideas per se. So I think what the MLB's missing is urgency. I think 162 games is ridiculous. Here's my pitch: cut it in half. Give me 80 to 100 games. Give me a 7-game division series, more playoff games, less regular season games. I want a 7-game losing streak to be a big deal, right? Like the Nationals when they won the World Series, great for them. And some people will use that as an argument against it. I say they were one of the worst teams in baseball the first half. I don't need to be seeing that, right? Like make a 7-game losing streak. That's 10% of your year. Sucks, right? So what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree? What would you change? All that.
I think statistically, I mean, I love that idea, right? I mean, shorten up the season. I think it would make it more interesting. I mean, baseball season is so long. I mean, if you think about just from a playing aspect, you get there in February, you don't get home until, you know, September. If you're in the minors, you're doing instructs, you're not getting home till October. It's a long season. Yeah, I love that idea. I just think I know the stats, the historic, you know, statistics of baseball are some of the most coveted, you know, things in the world. So I don't know if they would do that. The one thing that does surprise me is I love how they have the strike zone.
Yeah.
And I think having the electronic umpire, whatever you want to call it, I think would be cool. I think there's a lot of, I mean, you just turn the TV on. There's, I mean, the amount of calls that they miss.
Oh, it's getting to be a problem.
And you know, as a pitcher, you throw that high fastball that's belt high, that seems high, but it's a strike.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many pitches that are stolen, I think. But you know, it seems like they give them back too. I think they could refine the strike zone more if they wanted to.
Yeah. It's an interesting idea.
So yeah, I'm all for that. I know they're talking about that. I know they're talking about making the bases bigger.
Right.
Among other things, but Yeah, I mean, those are just a couple of things I think would be cool.
Yeah, I don't like. I never understood the whole getting the base bigger outside of safety. I guess I guess that makes sense, but I don't know. Anyway, so the whole sticky stuff thing kind of happened last season, and they're still checking guys this season. Probably will for the foreseeable future, maybe ever. I don't know.
Right.
My take has always been hitters. You can use pine tar, gloves, like the rubber
Right.
thumb guard thing, Evo shields, you name it. There's pretty much almost no rules outside of don't cork the bat, no pine tar on the barrel. Two rules, everything else is a go. I think pitchers should have something, right? Some sort of regulated substance outside of rosin. I mean, you can go buy rosin. You can use rosin for anything.
I know. I agree. I mean,
That's my thought. And in exchange, I said maybe let's lower the mound a little bit, right? A little more contact, especially since guys are throwing 100. Maybe their four seam doesn't have as much downhill on it, right? Guys are 6'7" nowadays, right? So maybe lower the mound, let them use a substance. That's my take. What do you say to that as a pitcher?
So yeah, I love the idea of lowering the mound. I think, even like the idea of pushing it back a couple inches, I think would be cool too.
Yeah.
But I know for me, we used to use suntan lotion.
Yeah, sunscreen and rosin.
So sunscreen and rosin. If you put a little bit of sunscreen on your fingers, it's one of those things that like it gets so sticky to the point where like you don't want to get caught with it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You can if you've done that for a long period of time and you've thrown a certain way, when you can't use that anymore, it really changes a lot of things. I know can't think of who it was, but somebody got hurt. I think they attributed to that.
Was it Garrett Cole maybe?
Maybe it was.
I know he was. Yeah, I think it was Glass now. I think you're right.
So, I mean, listen, I'm sure that there's guys that are still doing stuff. It's
right.
People are getting away with stuff. I mean, whether they're checking fingers or not, I'm sure there's something going on, and you just know it.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, lowering the mound I think is cool. I think pitchers should have. I mean, put a stand full of everything out there and let them use whatever they want.
I don't think that's a bad argument either.
I mean, give the fans something to enjoy. Like I said, I think baseball. I mean, it's a great game, but it has gotten a little stale over time.
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing that hasn't gotten stale is college baseball. I don't know if you've been keeping up with the regionals and supers, and I don't know what it is because
not as much.
Oh man, now that we're in the College World Series, you should give it a watch. I mean, so I think what they're doing right is the urgency, right? And I think it's clearly not the best product. I mean, there's 4 or 5 errors every game, right? It's not the best baseball product. I think it's the urgency, much like the NBA. College basketball isn't the best product, but we watch March Madness. There's urgency. I think it's so captivating. I can't get enough of it. You didn't play in college, so I don't know if you have experienced that urgency. What is it about college ball? I mean, is it just because everyone's fighting to get to the next level? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think social media has changed everything.
Right.
You can fire up Twitter and you can see JUCO, you can see Division III, Division II, Division I, and the game in the college level looks exciting.
Yeah.
You got the bat flips. My son and I actually went down over Easter weekend, and we were coming back through Morgantown. We stopped and we saw WVU play Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Oh man.
And man, I'm telling you, the guy that hits cleanup for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, Griffin Dorshing, I think is his name.
Yeah, dude has like a white mohawk.
Yeah. Yep.
So I've seen a lot of balls hit in my life. Okay, that guy hit a ball. Okay, in that game, and I looked at my son and I said, I've never seen in my lifetime someone hit a baseball that far. He hit it across the road at WVU Stadium. It went over the ticket booth, all the way across the road. There's like a Kohl's it landed in the parking lot over there.
I think I saw it on Twitter.
That is.
Yeah,
but it was an absolute bomb. But the excitement, guys run the bases. He touches home plate. They throw a cowboy hat on his head. Yeah, I mean the kids. It's exciting. It's fun, and it's cool to watch. My wife even thought it was hilarious. But there's just a lot of you can just feel the excitement around the college game.
Right. I honestly, I think I enjoy watching it. I find myself the last couple of weeks just choosing that over the MLB. Like I said, even though it's not the best product, but so minor league baseball. Something that's always puzzled me about it. Whenever I do watch it, it is pretty rare, but every now and then I'll go catch a game. Maybe if I'm down at Myrtle Beach, like when the Pelicans were there, right? Or every now and then, some of the playoffs or championship games will be on TV, right? when I watch it, one thing stands out to me every time. They don't look like a collection of guys that are just trying to get to the next level, right? They look like a collective team that's working their butt off together. Like, how is the dynamic in those locker rooms knowing that you're competing to the dude that might be sitting right next to you, and it's him or you, but you guys are still teammates, you're still brothers? How is that dynamic?
I think like from a college mindset, it probably feels that way when you're looking at somebody that's your one shot.
Right.
When you're in that situation, I think you're playing not just for that team, but you're playing for all the different teams. If you do well, I mean, there's every night in the minor leagues, there's 3 or 4 scouts at every one of your games who are looking. They're always scouting, looking for players, and the classic player to be named later.
Yeah.
And that happened to me almost on every team that I was on. You'd hear about a major league trade and there'd be a player to be named later, and you show up at the ballpark the next morning and somebody's gone.
Yeah.
And that's the scouts that are in the stand during those games that you don't see when you're out there performing. But I don't think I don't ever, there was never one time in my career that I looked at somebody beside me and said, man, like, I just, I wish you weren't here.
Right.
Because you're holding me down,
Yeah.
Really, you just have to be, take accountability for everything you put out there. At the end of the day, I truly believe, like, at the end of the day, like, if you are good enough, you'll get the opportunity, or you'll hang around for a long time, or if you can hang around for as long as you want. But you never know. Competition is what it is. At that level, there's so much of it, you just kind of become numb to it.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, plus people at that level, I feel like you thrive on competition a little bit, so I guess that makes sense. So you said you roomed with Neil for a little while. First of all, how was that? How is he behind the scenes? Because, in person, he's real buttoned up, right? He always says the right thing, real buttoned up, real classy guy, I guess. I don't know. How was rooming with him?
Neil's a great dude. I still talk to Neil every now and again. I just saw him at there's a coffee shop by our house. Where I'm actually building a new house. Neil actually lives in the neighborhood below me.
Yeah.
So, we kind of run into the same people, and Neil's brother's son is actually on my son's travel team. So, Neil's a good dude. I mean, we spent an instructs or 2 together, and then I got put on a rehab stint when I was in Altoona, and I actually lived with Neil for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Neil's a great dude, man. I mean, he's the Pittsburgh kid. I mean, he did it right, man. I mean, there's some guys you just know are going to make it. He's one of those guys, he worked his butt off, and, he just kept fighting, and then he got his opportunity and he seized it. So Neil's a great dude. I get nothing but good things to say about Neil. Was
there anything specific that stood out to you about him that kind of made him, be the cream that rises to the top? You know what I mean? Was there something non-baseball related about him?
He's just
how
consistent.
He prepared? Consistent.
Neil was consistent, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he would, Neil could go 0 for 4, and then you just knew the next night Neil was going 2 for 4 or 2 for 3.
Right.
It was just he was just so consistent over time. For some of us, like myself, like, one day you have it, and then the next 2 times you don't, and you can't really put a finger on why.
Right.
But guys like Neil, he always had it. It was just a matter of, him getting there. And that goes for another thing is I always look at guys that I played with that made it to the major leagues. There's guys that are like A-level talents that you see for the first time, and you're like, wow. Like, right. When you see those, like Andrew McCutchen, when we were in Hickory, the first time I saw him play, I was like, why is this guy here? Yeah. Because, I mean, the first time I saw him was in Williamsport. He gets called up, and we're like down in the bullpen, like warming up for the game, and he gets there, and honestly, he looks like a child, like a baby. Like, he's not too tall. And then I remember my manager at the time, Tom Prince, was like, wait till you see this kid play. And we were all just kind of suspect. And then his first at bat, I will never forget this. He gets up and shoots a ball down the right field line, and I'd never seen anyone run like that. Yeah. I mean, his speed when he was younger, I mean, he's still really fast, but man, you like picked your head up and he was almost to third base. And it was just, the most unbelievable thing I'd ever seen. But just there's A level talents, there's B level talents, and then there's everything else in between. You have your grinder types that get there. But Neil, I mean, Andrew McCutcheon, I mean, those guys are all in the same boat. You just know they're going to make it. It's just a matter of when.
Right, it's kind of crazy. You mentioned his speed. If he's like transitioned into like more of a power hitter now, right? He's hitting.
Yeah.
He's like DHing for the Brewers. His power numbers are up. The past couple years they've been up. It's kind of crazy watching the progression of his career.
Yeah. And he's another one, like another stand-up guy. I mean, he's a great dude. I don't keep up with him as much. I haven't seen him for a long time, but I mean, just, work ethic. But he's one of those guys. He had it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was born to play baseball. That guy.
Right.
So there was fun to get to spend a couple of years with him.
So we've had Steve Gridley, Jason Gridley's dad. We've also had Jason on way back when. You probably know him. He's more of a local guy. He stayed around fairly local after he's played. But we've also had Matt Wood on the show. I don't know if you've heard of him. Catcher at Penn State, PR grad, animal, right? So I was talking to Matt about what is it about being like when you're on a hot streak, right? I think he had a 26-game hitting streak this year, and he was like, it has nothing to do with physical like things. It's all mental. He said I walk to the plate knowing I'm better than the pitcher, and that makes him scared. He'll make a mistake, and I know I'll hit it. And the same thing, Steve and Jason said the pitching in general was really, really mental. Think back to like a time in your career where you had 4 or 5 outings in a row where you were just money, right? Was it something different you did, or was it truly just physical? Or mental, I'm sorry, just truly mental.
For me, it was always mental.
Right.
I mean, it was mostly mental. I mean, partly physical. I mean, it took me, probably to like 5 years ago to figure out how to take care of my body well enough to keep weight on, to be physical enough to pitch 162 games.
Right.
But when you're going good, you're not thinking about it. You're just taking the ball. You're not thinking. You're just going out there and you're throwing.
Yeah.
For me, it was always, for me, it was just it was always just being consistent with my delivery, and I didn't have bad mechanics, but just staying consistent, not overthinking it.
Right. And
I had good stuff. I mean, low 90s up to mid 90s with, good hard slider. I mean, you can look at my statistics. I was able to throw. When I could get you to 2 strikes, I could get you out. It was just a matter of getting there.
Right.
So yeah, when you're going good, there's no thought process behind it. You're just picking it up and chucking it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense. I know a lot of pitchers, pitching coaches in general like that. I think they call it like a bulldog mentality on the mound where it's, Jared Hughes running out of the pen looking like he's going to, run through a wall.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes sense with the whole mental thing.
Yeah. Jared and I, so I know Jared and I were on several teams together, and our stuff was very similar. He was just 6'9", and he could throw a lot more strikes than I could. Yeah, he's a crazy guy, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
for a while too. I think Jared was when he ended up pitching 12 years in the big leagues.
Something like that. He was one of my favorite people to watch pitch because, especially, he'd have a good outing or whatever. He'd come in 3 in relief and strike out like 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they'd interview him after, and it's night and day. I mean, he's the most like joyful, happy,
really
nice dude ever on the mound and running to the mound. Looks like he's gonna like actually kill somebody. That's what he looks like.
Yeah, he's a great person too. I mean, you run into that guy in Giant Eagle, and he'll talk to you for half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for him. Happy for him.
So I heard Neil speak today at the one little baseball camp I was at. Came and talked to all the little campers or whatever, and he for the first time ever, I didn't know that he was committed to Clemson, or at least that's where he was going to go. And he said that today. Obviously, you had a bunch of duels with him in high school, right? Because I think he just graduated a year after you. Is that right?
I graduated the year after Neil.
Okay, you were the year after Neil.
So the interesting thing is we played them every year, and I never faced him.
That's upsetting. That'd have been a
was
duel.
Always at the time. Pine Richland was never what they are now. They were always, I think, either a AA or a maybe even when they weren't single.
I think they might have been triple by then. I don't know. They were definitely double, probably.
I think they were a AA school. They were never they were an exhibition game for us at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I mean, I think the one year we played them, he pitched against us. No offense to Pine Richland, but I wasn't pitching in an exhibition game against them early in those days.
Right, that makes sense.
So, yeah, Neil signed with Clemson, right?
Yeah, I guess so. That's what he said. And I was going to ask, were you signed anywhere before you got drafted? Were you committed anywhere?
So I came on. I didn't come on late. I didn't do any of the showcases or anything.
Yeah.
So like at the end of my junior year, I'm good friends with Matt Clement. Actually, Matt and I still talk to this day.
Right.
But he set me up with this guy. His name was Joe Waddick, and I did the showcase at Slippery Rock.
Yeah.
And the videotape, and Joe sent this video out of me to like 700 different schools. But that day felt good. I touched like 92 and nobody had ever heard of me. The next week I had like 25 offers. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like, I had like Coastal Carolina. I had South Carolina. I had all these big.
Yeah. Big Southern,
Yeah. So I took one of my official visits. The guy, Gary Gilmore was his name. I think he might still be at Coastal. But he called me and we took my first official visit down there. And I was going to go there because they were going to let me play football as well.
Yeah.
And, we just kind of, we didn't know what we were getting into. So I just kind of waited. I was like, I don't feel super comfortable about this. And then we waited. And we ended up getting, I think I probably had like 20 to 30 offers when it was all said and done. But honestly, at the time, like my dad was working in a steel mill. My mom was a teacher's aide. So we didn't have the resources. So I took the best offer that I got, and it was from Marshall.
Okay.
And the reason why I signed with Marshall people would say, why would you sign with Marshall over South Carolina? Well, for my parents, it was going to be, thousands of dollars out of pocket, and then probably eventually for me. So Marshall was a school that really, really wanted me. And we took a visit down there. It was closer than, Coastal. It really came down to Marshall and Coastal.
Yeah.
It was close enough that my parents could drive to see me. They really, I really felt like they wanted me. They were ensuring me that they were going to give me the ball over the weekends or during the week.
Yeah.
I was going to get the reps that I needed to get better. And to be honest, by the time after I got drafted, it was damn near a full scholarship. And then, once I got picked and there was a little more, my name was out there, it was pretty much a full ride. So it was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. Do you ever regret not going?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. It's hard because I don't have any regrets about it all.
Right.
But looking back on it, where I'm at now with my life, I would have, if it was my son, I would say, hey, if they're not giving you, at least 7 figures, you're not going. Right.
Yeah. Like seriously, you're not crazy.
Because, by the time these kids go to school, it's going to cost, $400,000 the way things are going.
Right.
But no, I don't have any regrets about it. But if I would have went to school, I probably would have got drafted. By the time I was 21 in the minor leagues, I was throwing a lot harder.
Yeah.
It was a lot bigger. It was more refined. And it's sometimes I think if I would have went to college, I would have got more reps than I actually did in the pros.
Right. It's not crazy.
That makes sense. So I think as an 18-year-old kid to walk into that, it's really hard.
Yeah, I was just about to ask. What's that like? Me at 17, I was maybe 150. Seriously.
Yeah, it's brutal. And like when I got drafted, I think I was 178 pounds.
Yeah.
So, you're walking in. I remember the first time I got there. First of all, all the players were Dominican. Okay, so nobody was speaking English. There was like 3 or 4 American guys there, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And then you start to find out, what this is really all about. So I forget where we were going with this, but It's really it's a culture shock is what it is.
Yeah.
Walking in there as an 18-year-old kid, if you don't have life experience, it can be a really intimidating thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, I would
can
caution any
imagine.
kid out there, if you're listening or you listen to this, if you are just even slightly, still calling your mom for stuff, don't go play pro baseball because it's gonna get 100 times worse. I can promise you.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go, kids listening. Advice there from a former minor leaguer, Jake Cuffman. Dave, we really appreciate you, man, stopping by and chatting for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, and have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
What's up? We are back. It is the third segment here on a Friday, June 17th. We are moving through the month. Didn't get a weather report in the last segment because obviously
hot. There's your weather report.
It's hot. I think it was
sweating.
Well, we're recording this on Wednesday. It was 94 today, or 92 today. We have 94 tomorrow, 90 something the next day. It's hot in Pittsburgh.
I mean, look, it's better than cold,
but it feels great.
Rain.
Look, I'm gonna understand that it's annoying to complain about the weather all times of the year, because when you're cold, you're like, oh, freezing cold. Well, then shut up when it's summer, right? Or when in the summer you're sweating, oh, I'm so hot. Well, then shut up when it's cold.
Right.
So I'm gonna give over my right to complain about it being hot because I complain so much when it's cold.
Yeah. I would say like fall and spring are definitely my favorites. People always focus on the polars,
Yeah.
The really, really cold or the really, really, really hot.
You're more of a middle guy.
Love fall. I mean, it's just so good.
Plus, you got hunting season.
Hunting season in the fall, sweater weather in the fall, flannel Fridays come back in the fall, baby. Are you kidding me? Like,
nice bowl of soup.
Oh, God, great bowl of soup. Great. There's just so many things I don't drink or eat, like hot things that I just cut out of my diet for, like 6 months out of the year. Yeah. Soup, hot coffee, the occasional hot cocoa.
Yeah.
Not a tea guy, but...
well, to me, soup is definitely like a top 3 meal. And speaking of top 3, let's go with the winners and losers of the NFL offseason. We're going to give you the top 3 who we feel has won the most in this offseason. The franchises, the teams, obviously. And then the 3 that we feel have lost this offseason. So let's go.
Let's go into number 1. Let's go with the Eagles. I give them like a 4 out of 5 stars, right? I love the trade for A.J. Brown, right? That's a big time. I think he's a 1 receiver. I personally think he's a 1. I think he's got the demeanor and mentality of a 1 with the skill. He's big, he's strong, he can go up and make catches. Great after the catch. Yeah. Rarely hurt. Love A.J. Brown. They go sign Hassan Reddick, who's been an underrated pass rusher the last 4 to 5 years. I love the Nakobe Dean draft pick. Obviously, the Jordan Davis draft pick. James Bradbury in the secondary. I mean, they've added a lot of really good high-end pieces.
Absolutely.
And I do hesitate with Jalen Hurts. I think that's why they're not a 5 out of 5, right? I think if you go make a splash at quarterback, you're a 5 out of 5. Or, not that A.J. Brown's not more of a splash, but you'll see when we get to, spoiler, the Raiders, when they made their splash in the receiving core, I weigh that a little bit heavier.
Right, because of, we all know what the Raiders did in signing Devontae Adams. We're not going to talk about that yet.
Right.
But I love the A.J. Brown pickup. I think that's the best move they made the entire offseason. Being able to acquire him, and they did it quietly, too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just, little swap and picks and snag A.J. Brown to kind of put some decoration on that offense, at least a little bit to carry some of the weight, because Jalen Hurts is Jalen Hurts. He's not the most accurate, so now you go get a guy that, it doesn't really matter. He's going to make him look great.
Got a really nice catch radius, strong hands, can go up and high point the football. I agree. Plus, he can turn like a slant into like a 75-yard touchdown anytime, right?
So fast.
Don't make Jalen Hurts have to make 12, 13 play drives, right? Get him in a 1 or 2 play big hitter, right? Okay, winners. Another winner here. Let's do all the winners, then we'll get to the losers, right? So let's go with the Raiders for winner number 2. Like I said, you get Devontae Adams. If I had to give it a star, I'd probably go 4 out of 5 again. First of all, I think Chandler Jones is a top 5 pass rusher. I might go 5 out of 5.
Oh, man.
It's got to be 5.
Yeah, it's got to be 5.
The graphics right here. we just finalized it 5 out of 5. Here's the thing. I think the two most important positions outside of quarterback are wide receiver and edge rusher right now.
Yeah.
And so first of all, they re-signed Derek Carr. Boom, you got the most important position. You go get the best wideout in football to go along one of the best tight ends and one of the best slot guys in football. Really good. And then you go out and get a top. Go look at the stats. Chandler Jones is like 3rd or 4th in sacks over the last like 8 years or something like that. Really consistent. He'll give you like 13, 14 sacks every year in, year out. Doesn't get hurt a lot. Super
Very
consistent.
reliable, yeah.
A veteran to go across from Max Crosby. So you get the 3 most important positions, and not only do you just get guys there, you get high-end talent
You
there.
get some dogs, yeah.
For me, that's a 5 out of 5. Now, I'd worry about the division, but then again, the Rams were in the toughest division too. You know what I mean? And they won a Super Bowl. So I don't...
I mean, you're either going to rise up with the pieces and the talent that you've built, or you're not. And I think it's uber important for the Raiders, especially in the situation they're in. I mean, you brought it up. No lie, they're in the AFC West. I'd say that is by far the most competitive division. I was having this conversation literally earlier today with someone. The AFC West is the most competitive division in all of football. I don't think it's that close.
I agree, and I think it comes down to quarterback play, and Derek Carr's a pretty good one. Okay, let's go with the Broncos, another team in their division. Unfortunately for Derek Carr and others, Russell Wilson just got out of the division. I'll give a 5 out of 5 to the Broncos. First of all, they completely rebuilt their defensive line. They added a pass rusher. They added a run stopper. So now you have one of the most important positions, edge rusher, locked up. He can stop the run. They have good youth in the secondary, so they'll be good for a while. And I talked about safeties earlier. They have a really, really good one. You add Russell Wilson. They have pretty good weapons on the outside, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, etc. I don't love that they lost Noah Fant, but I thought he was a little overrated anyway. I think their backup should, if he's 75% of Fant, I think they'll be happy with it. You got 2 good backs, an improving offensive line, and you get a young offensive head coach.
Absolutely.
For me, you check every box, right? You made the pivot to defense to offense. You go get the quarterback, you get a pass rusher, and you have good weapons. That for me is a 5 out of 5.
If we're playing the box check game, they got them all checked.
I will say the Eagles make a case for a 5 out of 5. I just worry about the quarterback. Right? I don't blame them for not moving off Hurts, but I think if they did and got a better quarterback, now granted the Deshaun thing would have backfired, but I mean right now you put Jimmy G on that roster. What do you think? I think they can win a playoff game.
I think so.
I think they win a playoff game.
Yeah.
With Hurts, I think they might have a chance to get there, but not win one. All right, let's flip over to the losers. The Browns just gave $230 million guaranteed to a guy who has, 26 lawsuits against him now.
And the 66 private massages and mounting, it seems like. Every day you wake up, you check the news feed, there's something else.
Yeah, and more info coming out,
right.
Transcripts and statements from the victim, stuff like that.
Which is good. We need that.
I agree. And, by the way, not to mention, it gets worse. They also still on the books have Baker Mayfield's $18 million, and he's a backup. And I don't think if they want to move him, if they want to trade him, they're going to have to absorb a lot of that salary. Teams have said, we're not paying his $18 million. No. If you pay 12 of it, we'll take him. If they pay 12 of the 18, we'll take him. Like the Panthers right now, what they're paying to Sam Darnold, you can, and I don't know what Matt Corral's rookie deal is, but they have a lot of money tied up in their quarterback room for not a lot of production. You can't bring in an expensive guy and have like 4 quarterbacks deep with an expensive quarterback room when none of them stand out.
No, you're right. And I think the biggest problem with Baker is he's a liability in the team room.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's a toxic individual. We've seen it multiple times. It's not a secret. It's not like some breaking hot take to say that. Baker is... And he put himself in this position, too. He has given himself no market by being the way that he is. He's a talented enough quarterback, I think, to do really well with Carolina. And we talked about that a little bit. I think it'd be good there, but the Browns are going to have to eat a lot of money either way. And then they're going to be left with what to start? You don't have Deshaun. You don't have Baker.
Jacoby Brissett right now would start.
Throw him in.
Here would be my thing if I was Baker. I'd go to the Browns and say, I will start the first blank games of the season. At the trade deadline, you deal me. Deal? Cool. Good. Browns would love to get 8, 9 starts out of him. Deal him at the deadline. Baker will rise his stock. They'll get more for him. Baker will go to maybe not a better team, but a team that will start him.
Baker
love it.
Maybe rises his stock. Depends on how he plays.
We'll see. Another loser here. Let's go with the Cowboys. They lose their best receiver, their second best pass rusher, 2 of their top 3 linemen. Zeke's aging another year. So is Tyron Smith, I just don't really see it.
No.
And I think you needed to make a change at head coach. You didn't. I don't love what they've done.
They whipped in a couple spots.
Sorry, I forgot to say the Browns. The Browns, I'll give them a 2 out of 5 because I think they at least tried to upgrade. Backfired. Sucks for them, but they at least tried. Let's go with the Cowboys. 1.
Yeah.
You overpaid at quarterback, you overpaid at running back, and now here we are. Let's go with the Packers. I'll give the Packers a 2.
Yeah.
I will say, pretty good draft, and they have acquired some decent talent around them. And I think they still need to go get a wide receiver, but at the end of the day, you locked up one of the best quarterbacks in the game. You had a decent draft, but of course, you lose Devontae Adams. You still haven't acquired another number 1 wide receiver in an increasingly offensive-dependent league. Not sure how that's going to work. I don't love the direction of the franchise. A lot of their stars outside of Jair Alexander are aging. They a lot of money in running back. I'm not a huge fan of what they've done.
No.
A 2 out of 5 feels about right for me.
Yeah, I think so. That is just about all we have for this episode. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to check it out. Next week we have a little special something to release, so make sure you're subscribing on YouTube, following on Instagram, follow on Twitter. All of our social media can be found in the link in the description below. No matter where you're watching, it is everywhere. Guys, thank you so much for listening to The Issue.